Representative Omar.
I think a commission position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it.
This one escalated fast. During a House hearing, Ilhan Omar questioned how pay cuts work, and it quickly turned into a clash with Barb O'Neal, a former business owner, alongside Mr. Hudson and Representative Uglum. What really stood out wasn't just the tension. It was the disconnect. Performance-based pay, demotion, commission, accountability, everyday private sector realities, suddenly sounding unfamiliar in a room that's supposed to understand how people actually earn a living.
Chair, Representative O'Neal, I'm just wondering, are there, I was a union member for a long time, and I've also gotten an opportunity to work in the private sector, and I'm curious to know if you know of any employer that has a provision where they decrease pay for employees. I find that a little strange, and so I just wanted to know where that thought comes from, and if you know where an employee gets their pay decreased.
Representative O'Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was a business owner. I recently sold my share, so I don't own it anymore, but there are plenty of businesses out there, especially those that depend on employees' productivity, like I was in the trades. So I owned a company that was a tile setting company, and if we didn't get out there and do the work, and if I didn't have highly productive employees, they were paid based on their productivity. So if they had issues, it is very possible that their pay would reflect those issues. If they were on probation for something, for some sort of violation, that could be coordinated with a pay reduction. It's something that businesses do all the time, and it could be the step before someone is actually fired. So it's an important thing, and it gets people's attention, when they see it in their paycheck that their performance does not meet the standard.
Representative Omar.
Hudson, I think did you have something?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hudson? Was there a question for Mr. Hudson?
No, I think he was saying that he wanted to add something, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
Mr. Hudson, is there a response to the question? Do you have a response to that question?
Madam Chair, yes, ma'am.
Are you saying that you aren't aware of any businesses that decrease pay? Because that was the question.
Madam Chair, I think what Chair O'Neal perhaps could be referring to, there are some instances where the pay structure is different. So for an example, she had indicated that she had come out of the towel industry. I'm not sure if these were commissioned employees who may have been on like an 80-20 split. In that instance, there is a situation where a pay might be reduced. Or if we have a supervisor who perhaps had a performance improvement issue or a behavioral concern, and we demoted this supervisor, that is an instance where pay might be decreased. But just an employee who has not been under some sort of performance improvement program having their pay reduced, I've never heard of that.
Well, Mr. Hudson, I think Representative Neal knows exactly what she says. And I think we've had a little conversation back here when the question was asked. I know Representative Uglum, do you want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Omar, if you happen to be a salesman in this world, and you can be selling cars, you could be selling siding, you could be selling just about anything, and you are paid on commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So you can have good years, you can have bad years. Probably really one of the best examples is a real estate agent. So it's the idea that people can can make less money year to year, not to mention all the bonus situations that are out there in industry. It happens. It happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily happen, here in the public sector, but it's pervasive and very, very common in the private sector. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that in the private sector as well, people, if they are not performing at their job, get demoted, and with that demotion comes a pay cut. And that's not even related to being in a commission position, that's just in a regular position as well. Representative Omar.
I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it.
You listen to how this started, and it almost feels unreal, like that was the question that set everything off. When Ilhan Omar asked if employers actually reduce pay and called it strange, the room didn't just react. It paused, not because it was complex, but because it sounded disconnected from how a lot of people already work. And honestly, this tension isn't new. We've seen this gap before. Policy talk on one side, lived experience on the other. But here, it was impossible to ignore. That's when Barb O'Neal, speaking as a former business owner, cut through it with something simple. I owned a business. No theory, just reality. In her world, especially in the trades, if productivity drops, pay reflects it. If performance slips far enough, a pay cut isn't punishment. It's the warning before you're out. And once that door opened, Mr. Hudson and Representative Uglum leaned in with examples people recognize instantly. Commission jobs, sales, real estate, where your paycheck rises or falls with what you actually deliver. No output, no income. It's that direct. What made it uncomfortable to watch wasn't just the back and forth. It was the feeling that both sides were speaking from completely different realities. One treating performance-based pay like an exception, the other treating it like the baseline. And even when the point was clarified, that demotion, even in regular roles, leads to a pay cut, it didn't fully land. That's where the moment really settled in. Fast forward to now, and that's why it keeps circulating. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it exposed something deeper, a disconnect people have been noticing for a while. When the basics of how people earn a living start sounding debatable, it stops feeling like a policy discussion and starts feeling like a wake-up call.